graduate students. His areas of interest are software-defined radios, cognitive radios, soft computing, wireless communications, wireless sensor networks, fuzzy system design, and advanced microprocessors. He has published more than 5 book chapters in different international books, has authored more than 10 books with Person, Willie, etc., and has more than 30 publications in various national and international journals. He also has 2 patents published to his credit. He was awarded as the Career Guru of the Month award by Aspiring Minds. He is also a reviewer for many reputed journals such as International Journal of Communication Systems, Willy, IEEE Signal Processing Letters, International Journal of Measurement Technologies, and Journal of Organizational and End User Computing, Egyptian Informatics, Journal Elsevier, Instrumentation Engineering, International Journal of Interactive Communication Systems and Technologies, Current Journal of Applied Science and Technology, UK. I welcome Dr. Nikhil Mariwala sir to today's session, sir.
So good morning, ma'am. I hope you are able to hear my voice clearly. I am having some network issues right now.
Yes, sir, it's audible, sir.
Right. So I will not switch on the video, the webcam, so that the voice comes on clear, right? There are some network problems happening at my end, so kindly bear with me and do let me know if the sound and the video goes away, right?
Yes, sir, it's clear, sir.
Right. So
You can start.
I'm very thankful and grateful to all of you for having invited me over and allowing me to talk to all the participants. So it's a matter of great privilege that I am here, and thanks to the GITM School of Technology and coordinator Dr. Kamal Nathan Chandran and Sunita Pandaji. Thank you very much for having me over. And I hope that I'll be able to help you out in all the aspects of the digital and data forensics. So let me just share my screen and let me know if you're able to see the screen or not. Is my screen visible to you?
No, sir.
Is it visible now, ma'am?
No, sir, no, sir.
No. I'll just again do it. Is it coming?
No, sir, it's not coming. It's not visible, sir.
But here it is showing me that you are sharing the screen.
Sir, share screen option is there, sir. Down.
No, I've already selected that. It is showing me share. I've done it. I'm getting a message that it is visible.
It's not visible here, sir.
Is
Ah,
the
yes, sir.
PPT
Yes, sir.
visible now?
Yes, sir. It's visible now.
Right. So welcome to all the participants, and just kindly let me know if there is any kind of a problem in between, so, because I will not be able to see the chat window, etc. So you can switch on your mics and talk to me directly. Right. So today what we'll be talking about is we'll be referring to introduction to digital and data forensics, and I'll give you a basic idea of the digital and the data forensics, how it is being utilized for us, and I'll try and introduce the article to you so that you become familiar with this, and then I can talk also regarding this on the protocol structures. In the evening, we'll be talking about that. Right now, what we'll be referring to is about the forensics and the data and digital forensics. So the debate right now is that what is digital forensics, and is digital forensics a real scientific discipline? So we need to actually understand this into quite detail, that whether this is basically there we go, somewhere there. So we need to understand that whether this is basically a scientific discipline for all of us or not, right? So, what is digital forensics? How do you define this particular scientific discipline, and does it really matter to us? So, these are the three things which we would like to talk about and discuss about today, right? And what will be the learning outcomes? As far as I am concerned, I've jotted down certain learning outcomes for today's talk. Once we finish this out, I assume that we will be able to describe the science of digital forensics, and then we'll be able to categorize the different communities and areas in which the digital forensics is being utilized these days. And also, we would be able to explain where computer forensics actually fits in, right? So, see, we will be able to describe this particular part, and then describe the criminalistics, as I should refer to that, as it relates to the investigative process, right? So investigation, how it is being utilized in investigation. We'll be discussing the three A's for computer forensics and the methodology, and then critically analyzing the emerging areas of cyber criminalistics, right? So this is very important. We will be talking about this part, and then in the end, we'll be trying to explain the holistic approach to cyber forensics, right? So this is what I believe would be this lecture's outcome, and we'll see how much we are able to actually do in the given amount of time, right? So I'll try and ensure that we are able to achieve all these things. So basically, when I start with the digital forensics, and I shift over to the computer forensics that I have, right? So computer forensics can be described into this particular tree diagram. So if you see, what we are talking about is, we are talking about some military aspects, we are talking about the law enforcement agencies, we are talking about the private sector. So these are the three things, three service takers of the forensic part, where it can be extensively utilized. So what we have is, we have some law enforcement which has some standard and guidelines, right? So these standards and guidelines have to be followed while we are processing any of the forensic part. And then it is further divided with different aspects. As we can see, we have some investigation going on for a particular thing. So digital forensics is important in that, the acquisition, analysis, examination, and then filing the report, right? Similarly, if it is a criminal type of investigation going on, then we have some reports, the FRYE 702, etc., right? Similarly, we have some civil federal rules, right? So these are some of the things that can be utilized for the analysis of the digital forensics. So I introduced this term criminalistics to you. So this is very important term as far as we are concerned, and we'll try to understand what this is. Basically, this is a fancy term you used for forensic science, right? So when we try and describe the forensic science into picture, we are talking about this term called as criminalistic, right? So what is forensic science for all of us, for the benefit of everybody? The definition was given by Jefferson 2004. So it's almost 2 decades now, almost 2 decades, right? So what forensic science gave us, or how it can be defined? It is basically the application of science to those criminal and civil laws, right? So we are talking about both the laws, criminal and civil laws, that are enforced by police agencies in criminal justice system, right? So again, When we are talking about analysis of the forensics and bringing into forensic science into picture, we are definitely talking about certain laws which have to be taken into consideration while we are actually thinking over and designing the case for which this particular thing is happening, right? So this is what has been mentioned. This is important. So this is one of the most popular names we can ever hear in the industry of say what we call private basically investing agencies, and some Sherlock Holmes stories are so much of the importance to the criminalistic areas that you can basically talk about thinking like it, right? So when we are talking about searching a particular area, we can see that we are behaving in such a fashion as we have read Sherlock Holmes. Some of you might have definitely seen some movies also of this particular character, right? So basically, this is a fictional character taken out of some agency only, but still, Sherlock Holmes basically is one of those characters which can be identified with this particular concept called as criminalistic area. So I'll just give you a brief history and development. I don't know whether you have been given this or not earlier, but this is what we must always keep into our mind while we are talking about and studying this particular aspect of the forensic sciences, right? So what we have is we have Francis Galton from 1822 to 1911, right? So this was the first person to have given the definitive study of fingerprinting, right? So this is till date we are using fingerprints, right? Now it has come to our mobile phones, it has come to our lockers, and it has come to our different other gadget devices that we are using, handy devices I can call it. But still, the fingerprinting is very most one of the most common and important things that is taken into consideration while we are talking about any investigation going on. Then Sir Arthur Conan Doyle in 1887, he gave this Sherlock Holmes mystery, right? So again, I repeat, this is one of the most important things that have to be studied. These stories are basically studied for reference part, and then they are taken into consideration also sometimes when we are actually investigating certain things, right? Then we have Leon Lettice from 1887 to 1954, right? So he was talking about blood groupings, right? So A, B, B, and O plus. So blooding or groupings of blood groups, right? So how to match them? If some samples of blood are found and they can be matched out, and then certain things can be concluded on that basis. So he gave that particular theory. Then Goddard gave the firearms and bullet comparisons, right? So normally we see that the bullet fired is from this pistol. Now, who owns that pistol in that particular area, and from where did that actually bullet was bought, and what was the year of and who manufactured it, when it was made. So these kind of things were taken into consideration, and this theory was given by Calvin Goddard, right? Then Albert Osborne gave further things into this, right? He developed principles of document examinations, and he normally told the agencies that the documentation or the documents available at the spot of basically where the investigation is happening can also play a big role in solving that particular case, right? Hans, Hans Gross basically talked about the first treatise of using scientific disciplines in criminal law. Now, this is important, using scientific disciplines, right? So we will be referring to all these scientific disciplines also. How criminal investigations can become very easy while we are talking about the scientific disciplines of investigation being implied onto it, right? So Edmund Lockhart basically gave the principle of exchange. The principle of exchange was what? When a person commits a crime or some sort of a crime, then he or she is always left at the scene of the crime, and that was not present when the person actually arrived, right? So we need to understand the principle of exchange. What was done? Recreation of that particular crime scene. You must have heard this term in a lot of the news items that normally go on these days, right? So they try and recreate how this crime would have been committed and what would have been the situations and what actually would might have happened, right? So they are just trying to imagine the things, and then from that, if the things fall in the same place, a conclusion can be drawn out of it, right? So this amounts to recreation of these things, and the principle of exchange is done in that case, right? So the purpose of investigation is to actually locate, identify, and preserve the evidence, the data on which the judgment has to be given, or the conclusion has to be drawn. So preserving the scene of evidence is very important, right? So if we are not doing it, then the agencies who are investigating are playing or are said to have played some foul things in that, right? So FBI, I hope everybody understands this term, in 1932 started with forensic lab, right? So they were talking about national lab to provide forensic services, right? Now every country is having one of these forensic labs where the evidence or the things that are actually collected from the site of the evidence are sent, and the things are basically analyzed, and then we see that the enforcement agencies are actually getting help from those. Like now we have DNA testing things, we have some blood testing structures, or say you can even test it from the hair follicles, or from the clots found, or from different blood stains that are found there. So everything has to be actually scientifically tested, and this is done in some laboratories in all the countries these days. So FBI was the one who actually started this thing, right? So they started pretty early, and then uh, further they have been improving their basically analysis of the forensics, right? So India in this case is still not that behind, I should say, but they are still into some type of thing. So normally what we do is we do cyber investigation these days. We do law, we do DNA type of investigation. We do biotechnology or fingerprinting, or say photography. Photographs are also very important. Dentistry is one of the important things, and the IFS, basically the IFS, or Indian Forensic Sciences, is the department which is actually looking into this particular thing. And forensic labs are in several places in India now, and Uttarakhand is one of the nearest that I can find out. Basically, at my place, you can see it in Pune also. You can see it in Delhi. Lok Nayak Jayaprakash Narayan Institute is the one, and then Dehradun. Obviously, Dehradun is one of the oldest labs, and then we have some in uh, one of the labs in Pune, which is called as International Forensic Science, and then we have IFS Education Department. So I'm just talking about the Indian scenario, and we have. I should introduce this to you. We have a Sherlock Institute of Forensic Science in Delhi also, right? So Indian Criminology and Forensic Science Association is also there. So there are so many things, right? So countries kept on developing this, and then the laboratory part came into picture, that we have to analyze it in a lab where the person is not knowing what happened, but he has to just test it and give the report, right? So basic services provided are what? Physical science unit is there in that particular lab, which talks about the chemistry, the physics, and the geology of that particular sample which is given to them. Then we have a biology unit that I just referred to you, where we take the DNA, the blood, hair, and fiber that is collected from the crime scene, the body fluids if they are any, and then the botanical structure, right? Then we have another unit called as the firearms unit, and we have some document examination unit in that. Also, we have a separate photography unit, right? I just gave you that. So the crime labs basically are also having some optional services like the toxicology unit, the latent fingerprint unit, polygraphy unit. You must have heard this term lately, very, very important term, a polygraphy test, right? But in our country, we normally have to take uh, some approval before taking this or going for this particular test, right? So what polygraphy test is, or how it is done, and uh, uh, what are the actually things that are done in this. Basically, this is also related to a test called as narco test, and then because there are some guidelines given by the Supreme Court of India in this particular aspect. So it is not that anybody can do it, right? And you just go for it, and everybody is ready. But how do you do it and how do you proceed? There are certain laws in the country, and then the narco test centers are there where these tests are conducted, right? So again, if you see, what I'm trying to highlight is that we have certain specialized units in this, right? Also, another important aspect that has come recently into the investigations is the voice print analysis unit, right? So this unit also analyzes different aspects. Now, you must have heard in daily news, you see certain voice samples being floated around, and then they say we have to get it tested to actually check whether the voice is matching to the person who is claiming to be that person or not. Right. So these are done by the voice print analysis unit, and then we have an evidence collection unit. Again, this particular unit now was earlier handled by the officers which were present there, but now there is a special branch for this where which actually collects the evidence in scientific fashion, right? So there are certain things that need to be followed. I hope that my voice is coming clear, ma'am. Whosoever is coordinating, and my screen is visible because I am able to see the things. My voice is pretty much audible, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Audible, sir. Audible, sir.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. That's great.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Because I don't know. I will just keep on asking this in between so
No,
that I'm
no, sir.
aware
No, sir.
about what is happening.
You're audible, sir. You're audible, sir. Yes, sir.
Right, great, great. Thank you very much. Right. So then we have some other forensic science services. Forensic science services in the sense that we have some forensic pathology labs, which are basically sudden, unnatural, and violent deaths happen. So pathology labs are also into consideration. We have some anthropology labs, which are identifying the human skeletal remains. Now, you must have seen this also several times. Again, I would refer to the newspapers and the news items or the news channels. They normally show you that this kind of a skeleton was found while digging up, and then it is sent for examination. So where it is sent and who are examining, again, these types of labs are there. So we have a special unit called as forensic anthropology unit, which is actually monitoring this, right? And then we have some forensic entomology, which is dealing with insects, right? We have some forensic psychiatry, which is dealing with the psychiatric of the person who was around that or who was found, studying the psychology of that particular person. There is another important unit these days which is taken into consideration, forensic on odontology, which is related with the dental part, and then we have forensic engineering also coming into the picture, right? The forensic engineering, I don't know why this line came up best. So the forensic engineering also is newer, basically newer branch, I should say, and this is basically helping the persons who are working with some say forensic engineering. I should call it as investigation into failure of the components, right? So how how did that particular accident or how did that particular thing happen. Say for example, you're talking about a building being uh, coming down, right? So civil structures coming into picture, right? Or say a vehicle or an aeroplane crashing into it, and so how, what was the engineering fault in that? So again, a very interesting field to look into it, and hence these things are becoming very popular, and people are also studying onto for especially for these aspects, right? And ultimately we have some digital forensics, right? So digital forensics, what they are now, I'll just describe that: DFS or digital forensic science. So this is some definition taken from digital forensic research workshop, right? And I've tried to formulate it accordingly. So what digital forensic science or digital forensic workshop talks about the DFS part, it is basically the use of scientifically derived, right? So very important, scientifically derived and proven methods towards the preservation, collection, validation, identification, analysis, interpretation, documentation, and presentation of digital evidence, right? So very important, digital evidence. Now we are referring to some digital evidence over here. Now we need to understand what digital evidence would be for us and how to utilize it. So in the next slides, I'll be just talking through all those things derived from some digital sources. Say, for example, a mobile phone, a laptop, or a desktop, or say an iPhone available there, some pen drives, some hard disks, right? Some floppy drives also can be taken into consideration. There are so many things. Even the blockchain concept of digital currencies is also taken into consideration. I don't know how many of you are familiar, but you must have definitely heard the term of digital currencies, right? So digital currencies is another source which can be utilized for examination of the digital payment being done, right? And the normal, basically, if you see the digital currencies, the popular digital currencies that are there, uh, basically are bitcoins, right? And some other coin structures, right? So Bitcoin is one of the most popular ones. So if some payment is done or some evidence has to be collected for the past to be tracked from where this actually started in the form of some digital data. So that is also one of the fields, right? That has not been mentioned because this conference was in the year 2001. So at that time, the Bitcoin was not that prevalent enough, though it was existent, but not prevalent enough. So not taken into, but this is one of the most important these days, because the gray market and the other markets which where the normally the crime scenes are created, they are now utilizing these bitcoins to their fullest. The advantage that they get is nobody can track them. This is also another field in which we can come up with, right? And then derived from some data sources for the purpose of facilitating or furthering the reconstruction, right? So this is very important. How to reconstruct the scene. I already told you we need to talk about this in detail, right? What I'll do is I'll use this highlighter instead of this pen. Reconstruction of events is very important. So reconstruction of events is done, and then found to be criminal or found to be objectionable under law, right? So that is what we call as criminal, or helping to anticipate the unauthorized actions. Very important. This is also taken into consideration. The unauthorized actions, right? Shown to be disruptive or to be or disruptive to the planned operations. So, say for example, a chief guest has arrived. So, when a chief guest is arriving, you formulate certain things. Now, when you are making a chart of how things would go on, and in that case, you'll see that something has happened. So the same thing is recreated again, and then it is analyzed what happened and how this particular entire process went on, and then where were the lags? So this, because it was a planned event, and what was the thing that actually did went according to the plan, right? So you must have seen in several investigations happening where the news reporting is done, say some attack was made. So they normally tell that this was the path that a particular person had to follow to reach that place, and during that path, where was he stopping, or what were the bottlenecks, and how they were removed, and then when the attack happened on that particular individual, how that attack would happen. So you've just recently seen a satellite attack being monitored by Iran. So that is another point. Now, how digital forensics would help, and then how digital forensics come into picture to actually investigate into what should have happened and what actually happened, right? So this is a very interesting field, and a very lucrative field also, I should say, fetching a lot of money to the people who are actually into this and working into this, right? So what are the three distinct communities of digital forensics? Again, very important. I've just given you the names in the first tree diagram. The law enforcement agencies, the military part, and then the business and the industry, right? Possibly, I should say these days, possibly fourth can also be added, which is the academy, right? I cannot comment on this, but we can definitely talk about the fourth academia part. But these are the three main things: law enforcement, military, and the business industry, right? So digital forensic sciences basically are talking about this law enforcement, where we talk about courts, we talk about homeland security, and then see, because they are actually related to each other. So critical infrastructure protection, the business and the industry, the information warfare being utilized by the military operations, everything when you combine them together, it is somewhere or the other related with what? It is related with the digital forensic research. Now, this is the common area that we get, right? So this particular diagram helps us understand that the three agencies that we've been talking about, the law enforcement, the military operations, the business and the business industry, basically how they are related or how they can be actually connected with the digital forensic research, right? So we would be referring to this particular thing. So law enforcement, what is this table basically talks about the community objectives of the three, that is the law enforcement, the military, and the business and the industry, right? The primary objective is in law enforcement is the prosecution. There is no secondary objective after the environment is after the fact, right? Then we have military operations where we have continuity of operations. The prosecution is done, and in the real time, the environment is given, right? Business and the industry, what happens? Availability of service. Again, the prosecution is done and the real time. So there is a difference in law enforcement in the other thing, right? So what is the process? The process basically talks about the primary activities of the digital forensic sciences that we are talking about, and they are investigative in nature. The investigative process basically encompasses or includes or actually talks about what? It talks about the identification of the structure, the preservation of the scene, the collection of the data, further examination of that particular things that have been collected, and then analysis in a lab, right? Then presentation, and lastly we have the decision. So there are so many things, right? So whosoever is doing these things, earlier they were not separate fields, now these are separate units, right? So we should always remember that these are separate units now, and these units don't actually interfere, but they give their own judgment, and then the things are taken collectively to formulate a decision out of it, right? So this is the entire process. This looks a little complicated, but this is how the chart is there. The investigative process for digital forensic science. So how things are done: identification, presentation, collection, examination, analysis. Again, the presentation or the final decision is done on the basis of it. So how it is done? Identification. So event or crime detection, resolve signature, the profile detection, the anomalous detection, or the complaints that are given to the agency, the system monitoring or the audit analysis, right? Everything comes under identification. The presentation part includes the case management, the imaging technology, the chain of the custody or time of synchronization. Again, the collection part includes the preservation, the approved methods or the approved software, approved hardware, the legal authority, the sampling done or the recovery techniques done in that case. And examination talks about validation, filtering, pattern matching, hidden data, or the traceability to the event, right? And then analysis is based on that particular aspect where preservation, the statistical monitoring or the protocols, we will be talking about this in detail after in the next class also. Protocols, the data mining, the timeline, the link, the special things, then the documentation or the expert testimony, right? Everything is taken stepwise, right? So this is how the investigative agencies basically work together, right? Then we have some subcategories in the digital forensic sciences. The subcategories, they are basically, there is a consequence that there are three distinct subcategories in this, where we have media analysis, very, very effectively going on these days. You must have seen everything being, uh, they even now are giving decisions also, right? But their work is to just analyze, right? Examining or basically examining the physical media for evidence, right? Where we are talking about the physical media that we get. Then we have code analysis, that is the review of the software or the malicious signatures that might be found. Then we have network analysis, where where we scrutinize the network traffic. Now these days you have seen the mobile phones. These mobile phones play a big role in analyzing where the person was, where the crime would have been done, or how things would have worked out, at what time, what date, right? So everything being monitored digitally now. So network analysis is another very important field which is utilized logs to identify and locate in that, right? Media analysis basically talks about the media that we normally get from that. We are not talking about that media which we are referring to, the news part, but we are talking about the hard disk or the disks, RAMs, memories, any kind of memories, right? So this may be often referred to as computer forensics, and more accurate to call it what? The storage medium. So storage medium can talk about hard drives, just specify that, RAM, some flash memories, PDAs, right, or disks. Basically, any kind of disks can be used, CD-ROM, the DVDs, right? Normally, now we are talking about some hard drives only these days, right? We are excluding the network analysis in this. So we are not including network analysis here. We are just excluding it for the other field, right? Computer forensics, basically what it is, it's very important. Computer forensics is the scientific investigation or in the examination and analysis of what? It is the examination of data. The highest, I should write it here, highest paid job, right? Highest paid job, data analysis. You can get as much as money you want. If you are a brilliant data scientist or a brilliant data analyst, you can get as much money as you want, right? So very important. The examination and analysis of data held on or retrieved from, right? Again, if you see, there are so many softwares. If you say, for example, I'll give you a very simple example. You're working on your laptop right now. I am working on my laptop. And if the hard disk suddenly goes off, the hard disk has gone off. Though it is not very important for any of the other person, but the data that I was having is very important for me, right? So if the hard disk suddenly goes off, I'll ask him कि भैया कैसे भी करके इस डाटा को रिट्रीव कर दो भैया. I'll give you anything, right? But or the videos that I created with my family are precious, more precious than what the money is, right? I hope everybody agrees with this. So again, that is just a simple thing that I told you. Now I just analyze the change the scenario, change the scenario to some uh, transactions happening in the form of digital part, right? Or say some agreements being done in some digital part, and then they are being stored in some particular hard disk or hard drive, right? And then uh, once the agencies come to know about it, they want to actually decode it. So the person who is actually into this decoding that particular scenario can get anything, right? So that is why I refer to this highest paid job these days. So computer storage media in such a way that the information can be used as evidence. Very, very important. Any data that you produce is not the evidence, right? So we must always remember this, that in the court of law, there are certain set rules in which case the digital data can be produced as an evidence. And now there are so many things that normal people are also told. You normally see some warnings coming when when you see some movies offline or online these days, right? So warnings are that this is protected under FBI law, this, or this is protected under that particular law, and unauthorized viewing or any unauthorized projection of this particular media is punishable under law, right? So you must have seen this very common these days. So again, if somebody reports it and it is proved that you actually did that, or you just saw that particular movie without with the knowledge of the person who actually owned it, then there can be a very big problem, right? So who is proving that and who is producing these things is basically the data scientist, right? So that is why I say the computer age today is highly dependent on this particular field called as computer forensics. You can do a lot of things. You can do many things that we don't still imagine, right? Google, Adobe, or say even Tesla, for that sake, they are working a lot in computer data analysis, right? And one of the fields is forensics. So computer forensic activities, I'll jot it down a few for you. The computer forensic activities talks about the secure collection of computer data, the identification of the suspect data, the examination of the suspect data, and to determine the details such as what the origin and the content. That is what I was talking about, right? Then the presentation of the computer-based information to the court of law. Lastly, the application of the country's law to computer practice, right? So these are some of the activities that basically are done by the computer forensic analyst, right? And or you normally call it as a data analyst also these days. Now, if he is working with the forensic part, then he may be called as computer data forensic scientist. What are the three A's? I just introduced that to you. You will be able to analyze what three A's are. Three A's are acquire, very important, authenticate, and analyze, right? So acquire what? Acquire the evidence without altering or damaging the original one. Authenticate the image and analyze the data without modifying it. Again, very, very important. You must have seen some sci-fi movies where they just keep on tracking the criminals through their systems, and then they try and analyze what he has done, what type of transactions he's doing, where he's moving, or what is the place where they are staying, right? Similarly, the agencies, CIA or the FBI or the other agencies, even I can call the NSA in India, right? So what they are doing, they are basically they are monitoring the data constantly. They are monitoring the data, whether they are monitoring to the satellite or they are monitoring it to the LAN connected, right? Or any other media, wireless communications, the radios, the pocket radios, or the software defined radios, or the cognitive networks, right? So there are so many things. So monitoring is done. So how to acquire the information, this is very important. Then identify the authenticated information from that acquired data, because that is a lot of fake data is also being floated, right? So we have to authenticate the things and then analyzing it after it. So very important, the three A's are very important for data scientists and the data forensics, right? So this is the complete history of computer forensics. FBI basically started this, the computer analysis and the response team, known as the CART in that. They started in 1984, 1991, international law enforcement meeting to discuss the computer forensics and the need to standardize the approach was done. 1997, a group was formed named as the SWEDGE Group or SWGDE, right, to establish different standards worldwide. And then 2001, Digital Forensic Research Workshop, DFRWS, very important workshop to development the research roadmap, right? Then 2003, uh, some standards of corpus knowledge was created, and then things what happened, right? Context of computer forensics. Now, I'll just give you this: the homeland security, the information security, corporate espionage, white collar crime, child pornography, traditional crime, incident response, employee monitoring, very important these days. Employee monitoring, right? How employees are being monitored, the privacy issues, and any other. The question marks talk about any other, right? So these are some of the aspects where computer forensics basically is being actually uh, playing a big role, big role in this, right? The second part is now digital forensics, how it comes into picture. I'll just remove these arrows so that you are able to see the picture clearly. I'll just do it again. So these were some of the context of computer forensic. Digital forensic comes into this, and then the computer forensic follows this, right? So this is how computer forensic basically can help in analyzing the entire things very easily, right? So if you see, it has a role to play the entire thing, monitoring the things, right? Fit with the information assurance, how it is fit. The computer forensics is what? Basically, it is the part of incident response, the IR capability, right? The forensic friendly procedure and the processes, the proper evidence management and handling, and lastly, the incident response is basically an integral part of the information assurance or IR, right? So normally we are talking about incident response methodology, how it is done. Again, I've already given you this, but we'll just revise this again. So preparation, detection, the containment, analysis, eradication, recovery, the follow-up, and then the feedback. Very important. The feedback is also taken these days. This is kept into the secret files, and then the case is done, right? So incident response methodology, talking about all these aspects. So we just talk about in detail. PDCAERF, right? This is how it is spelled: PDCAERF. You can talk about preparation, detection, right? Then containment, analysis, eradication, recovery, and follow, right? So how preparation? So if you see preparation is that is being ready to respond, then procedures and policies, then resources and the CSIRT creation or the current vulnerabilities that we have or the countermeasures, right? So this is how to prepare. Then detection, how do you detect or notify? Determining of an incident or attempt has to be made, and IDS is issued. The initial actions and reactions are taken into consideration, determining the scope, why this was done, and reporting this particular process. Then containment, that is how to contain it. If you cannot stop it, how to contain it, right? So what we'll do is, I hope sir my voice is coming.
Yes, sir. Your voice is audible, sir.
Right. So there was some
Yes, sir.
disturbance happening, so I just thought I would ask.
Audible, sir.
Containment, yeah, thank you very much, sir. Thank you. So
Thank you, sir.
what containment is? So we're talking about limit the extent of the attack. If we cannot stop it, we have to contain it, right? So how do we limit it? To mitigate the potential damage and loss, we have to reduce it as much as we want, and containment strategies. So there is a special group which is studying these things, right? Analysis and tracking. So how the incident actually occurred, more in-depth analysis of the event. Again, historically, how this would have been prevented, or why, what was the cause behind it. Tracing the incident back to its source. Again, very important. What is happening? How do we do it? Why these things are being repeated and how we can stop them, right? So again, if you see, everything is of utmost importance these days, right? Education, or sorry, eradication and repair, recovery. Eradication means how recovering systems can be actually developed out of it. So we keep on developing certain agencies and units these days to actually monitor uh, uh, these clusters. So not normally now these units are talked about as clusters. So we are targeting small clusters to eradicate or recover from the scenes, right? So getting rid of the causes of the incidents or the vulnerabilities of the residue, that is the rootkits, the Trojan horses, etc. Then hardening the systems. You must have heard this term Trojan, quite common, right? So while you are monitoring any source, this etc. In movies, you must have seen it a lot that somebody just hacked into a system and then he was trying to read the data, and then what happens? Suddenly, the whole system collapses because it was not a valid input or valid entry into it. So suddenly, the entire system gets collapsed, and the other person whose system was being hacked, the information is conveyed to him that somebody intruded into your system, right? Or say another important and another very interesting movie that you must have seen. I'm talking about movies and other things. Is the Independence Day. I don't know how many have seen that. In that, you see a spaceship coming from an outside world and then creating a lot of chaos in the entire countries, and then suddenly they develop that they are having a shield, and that shield can be broken with the help of a virus. So this can also be a important aspect, right? So this is a positive side also. But normally these Trojan horses, etc., they are basically created to actually destroy things, right? They are destroying the documents, they're destroying the data. How to recover from that? Another important aspect. So different antiviruses, etc. have done, right? So I've given you both the aspects. So once that virus was introduced in that spaceship, the shield was gone, and then the problem was resolved, right? So this is how things are done. Then we have hardening systems, dealing with patches, right? So there are so many things. So each of these fields, people are required, and they are working, getting a lot of. If good people are there, they are getting a lot of money in these fields, right? Then we have follow up. Follow up means review the incident. Post-mortem analysis, very common these days. You must have heard this term so many times, right? Post-mortem analysis. Then lessons learned from that particular incident and follow up or reporting, right? So this is done by the agency. What are the challenges? Again, I repeat, this is the part. Follow up. Once the follow up is done, the feedback. Again, I repeat, feedback is given. Very important. The feedback is prepared and the entire case history is resolved, so that the persons who are reading are able to analyze in complete fashion, right? What are the challenges? So challenges basically, Eric Holder, one of the deputy attorney in the general United States, talked about these things, and then he talked about the technical challenges and the legal challenges and other resource challenges. So just try to brief them out over here for you. And the technical challenges are that hinder law enforcement or law enforcement's ability, right? So this is an important word, to find and prosecute what? To find and prosecute the criminals. Legal challenges are resulting from what? They are resulting from the laws and the legal tools, right, which are needed to do what? They are needed to investigate the cybercrime or the cybercrime lagging behind technological structures, safety changes, etc. Right? Then resource challenges, they are basically to ensure that what we have is we have satisfied the critical investigative part, right? And then the prosecutorial. Prosecutor means the person who is actually fighting the case is given the evidence, right, at all levels, so that the government who is fighting that case is basically able to actually analyze. So this is an NIG 2001 study. Basically, this is normally taken into consideration while we are reading any of the digital forensics. So I just kept it here. So what this talks about, there is a near-term window of opportunity for law enforcement to gain what? To gain the foothold in containing electronic crimes, right? But they are rising these days. They are rising more than what normal crimes would have gone for, right? You see so many digital robberies happening these days. So most states and local law enforcement agencies report what? That they lack adequate training, they lack the equipment, they lack the trained staff to meet their present also needs and then future needs, right? So that is why you see persons are they go away or get away with electronic crimes very easily. There are not much laws available these days. There are not much trained individuals who can actually monitor them available these days, right? So still the things are going on, moving into good direction, and then we hope that the agencies which are monitoring these electronic crimes are able to resolve, and the government is able to provide them with good laws, right? So greater awareness of electronic crime must be there. That is why these kind of workshops and these kind of seminars and lectures are organized, so that all of us are aware about what is the basic requirement and necessity while you are doing things. So you should not commit electronic crimes in any case, right? And they should be promoted for all stakeholders, including what? Including the prosecutors, the judges, the academy are very important. Academy is there, right? Academy industry and the general public, right? So this is how we can do it. That is why I've just taken this study. So journal challenges, the computer forensic basically is in its infancy. It is still coming up, very, very important. It's still not grown up, only in an infant stage, and we are still experiencing a lot of problems. So how will we solve it? Again, data scientists become very, very important for us, right? So different form, other forensic sciences, again, we have to deal it with different forms, and as the media they examine the tool techniques or the market-driven private sector, or everything talks about some different sectors. Now, common people cannot understand these things, but still they can keep certain things in their mind so that they are aware about what is happening. No real basic theoretical background is required upon which we need to conduct the empirical hypothesis testing. No true professional designations are given to them, but still they're working, right? And proper training to basically understand three different things, that is communities with different demands, right? And uh, still more of a folk art or a true science? I really don't know. You need to answer me, right? Two things. I still call it a true science, right? Because we are actually implementing what we have studied. Uh, but reverse has also happened. Those who haven't studied in the computer science, they are still able to utilize, produce certain things, and hack into other systems to rob people. Not correct, right? So they are not true data scientists, but they are just hacking the system. We have seen people who haven't even studied in schools are utilizing the mobile phones to hack into other people's accounts, right? Their credit cards or their debit cards. So this is a big challenge. How do we handle that? So legal challenges. What are the legal challenges? Status as scientific evidence. Very big challenge, right? Whether the theory or technique has been reliably tested, we don't know. We have to have sufficient testing done for entire things. Whether this theory or technique has been published in peer review, acknowledged, right? Whether it is known to have potential rate of error or method used, whether the theory or method is generally accepted by the scientific community. So everything has to be taken into. These are some legal challenges, right? So Kumho extended the criteria to technical knowledge in that case, and you can read that theory available. I'm just trying to introduce the basic idea, right? So what we have is specific challenges. The specific challenges are no international definitions of computer crime. Very important. There is no international definition. There are all local definitions, right? And the local police or the local authorities decide upon their own rules, right? No international agreements or on extraditions. Now they are doing. Now the governments are doing it, but still nothing has been done on computer crime or digital forensics, right? Multitude of operating systems and platforms. Very big problem. File systems, different file systems are being utilized. You see China developing its own strategy, US developing its own strategy, European systems using other systems, other things, right? Commonly, there is only Windows which is being utilized, but not that much. When we talk about crimes, digital crimes, right? Incredibly large storage capacity is required, 100 gig required. Not easy to generate, right? Terabytes, and not easy to generate. So these are some of the specific challenges, right? Then small footprint of storage devices, that is the compact flash, memory sticks, thumb drives, secure digital, right? Networked environments, they're interconnected. It is very difficult to trace out different things. RAID systems, the grid computing has come into picture. The embedded processors have actually also resulted into some complexities being risen, and there are many more reasons. I'm not able to list all of them here, but there are many more challenges, right? So we need to fight them out. How to fight them out? Where is the crime scene? We need to look into this, right? How? So if you see the perpetrator system and the victim system, there are two types of system. You have to find out a common path between them, right? So if that is identified, you crack the case. If you shift this arrow here, you are failing. If you shift this arrow here, you are again failing. Right? Has to be in the center. So I don't know. I've been talking about a lot, but specific challenges, what constitutes the evidence and what we are looking for, right? So these are two important things. So that is what we need to talk about. What constitutes the evidence? And what we are looking forward for is what we need to talk about. So what constitutes the evidence? Again, I'll just talk about this and then summarize it. What constitutes the evidence? If anyone can just talk about, because we have talked about this, if anyone can say, we've already given the definition. See, I'll give you a very simple definition. What it is, basically it is broadly construed, or basically it is anything which is presented in support of any assertion that we do. And because the evident things which are visible, they are undoubted. They cannot be doubted at any point. So evidence is something which is very, very important, which is obvious, which is evident, which is looking, and which is actually called as a proof, a legal thing, right? Testimonies can be included in that, documentary evidence, physical evidence, say proofs of etc. So there are so many things, but they have to be physically tangible. This is the code of the law, right? And what we are looking for, what we are looking forward for is all these things. While the investigation is going on, everyone is looking forward for it. It is very important that the agencies also look into these things, right? So the agencies working forward for digital forensic sciences are basically talking about these disciplines, right? So DFS is what I can just conclude a few things out of this now. Basically, DFS is what? DFS is a sub-discipline of criminalistics. Now, this is the word that I've introduced to you. DFS is a relatively new science, very new science. Three communities, that is legal, military, private, or academic sector, are actually related with or are connected or are bothered also with this particular aspect of digital forensic sciences, and it is primarily investigative in nature, right? So DFS can be referred to as primarily investigative in nature. And DFS is made up of what? We've just seen media analysis, the code analysis, and the network analysis, right? The computer forensics is a sub-discipline with what? With the DFS, right? And again, I repeat, it is just a sub-discipline. But these days, this is becoming in itself another discipline for the monitoring part. So the computer forensics is what? It is a part of IR capability, right? We've already seen the three A's of computer forensic methodology, right? And there are many general and specific challenges that we just saw. There is lack of basic research in this area. We have just seen both DFS and computer forensics are immature emerging areas. I call them immature because a lot of work has to be done to actually ensure that these emerging areas are basically into being utilized in daily life, right? We are utilizing them, but we are not utilizing them for forensic sciences, right? So this has to be taken into picture, and this is what my presentation was all about today. So again, I repeat, and I'll just go back to the three A's again. Very important. This is the important part. The acquire, authenticate, and analyze. If we talk about these three, if all the three are present, the case is solved, right? If any of the three are missing, you will not be able to solve the case completely. There will be no proof of evidence to actually prove the things, right? So, in many of the cases in digital crimes, you see the three A's are missing. One of the three A's is missing. And once the one of the A's is missing, you will not be able to prove anything, right? So, if you are not able to prove anything, then the person is actually not facing any litigation from the law. So both DFS and computer forensics, they have to work randomly. And also, what we need to do is we need to ensure that both these areas are now getting the technological boost that we want, right? So if they get the technological boost, it will be very easy for the agencies who are working forward for our benefit are able to resolve the issues completely, right? So that's it from my side, and I hope that I was able to introduce this topic to you fully, where we were talking about the digital forensics and computer forensics. I don't know whether I have taken much time or not, but I would request if there are any questions from your side, from the participants, you can have an extensive question hour session, because me talking alone would not be that beneficiary until unless we have some questions that we put up, right? So I've switched on my chat window also. If you can, you can switch on your
Sir,
mic.
good morning, sir. They asked some questions. Shall I read out?
Yeah, please, ma'am, please.
Sir, someone asked, sir, is there a complete development of cyber forensics in India? If so, how?
Is there what, ma'am? Is there?
Is there a complete development of cyber forensics in India? Is there a
Okay. Cyber forensics.
Yes, sir.
Can you just actually your voice was cracking. I'll read it. Is it there in the chat, man?
Yes, sir. In the question answer, it is there, sir. Sir,
Okay,
not in
okay.
the
I'll
chat, but
just
sir,
I'll
in the
just go to
question
question
answer
answers.
sensor, it is there, sir. You can see.
Okay, 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 okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got it. I
Yes,
got
sir.
it.
Yes, sir.
Is there a complete development of cyber forensics in India? Complete development, I don't know. What do you mean by that particular term? But cyber forensics, we are. I just introduced some things to you while I was taking the names of some cyber forensic institutes that are there in the country, right? So basically, cyber forensics is what it is the scientific process of identification, the acquisition or analysis of the things, right? Email tracing is one of them, registering or uh, there are so many things that need to be done, right? So in India, we do have certain institutes, again, I repeat, which are offering this kind of a thing, and you can definitely get a job in that. We have a job of digital computer forensic, and we have a degree also of this type, right? So you can visit
But
some
here,
good
what is
institutes which are actually pardon me. There was somebody was asking, can you just repeat that?
Sir, no, sir. There was one more question is there. That's what I mean to
Okay,
say. Yes, sir.
okay. I'll just give you triple IT Bangalore is very near to you, right? So they are offering this particular course in cyber forensics, cyber crimes. There are some PG certifications happening for cyber crime, cyber security, cyber law, right? And certifications are also given by. You can visit a site called as nqr.government.in, right? So you'll get it. And we have an institute named as CDAC, right? So it is called as cyber security and cyber forensic CDAC in different ways. So Cyborg is one of the institute cyber forensic courses which is providing. Institute of basically it is located in Noida. Ethical hacking is also one of its own branches. So ethical hacking is being done by IIT Roorkee. They're having a complete new department, right? If you're asking for this, I have given you the answer. But if you're asking that, is there a complete development of cyber forensics? No, there is no complete development anywhere, ma'am. Not in India, not in foreign countries, nowhere. I've just given you. It is an immature area which is getting up, right? So if it is an immature area which is being coming up, so there are so many things that can be done, right? And when you say that there are so many things that can be done, you can see. I took few names. You can give a theory. If you develop an algorithm to resolve a particular problem, there are so many criminal problems happening, especially in digital era. So if you can give a solution to that, if you can give an effective solution to that, your name will also appear in one of the slides that people normally show, right? So that is why I call this as an immature coming up area. And no country, believe it, not India, I'm not saying only India, no country is having a complete development cycle of this. Even FBI, they call them big cyber security or the digital forensic science laboratory, but they are also actually not into resolving deep learning cases, right? So they are looking forward. Each day you see they launch their problems onto the website for engineers and scientists to solve, right? So you can be one of them. There is no problem. How could cyber forensics be developed in India? Again, I repeat, sir, there is no lab as such to develop cyber forensics. Techniques have been developed by we people only. Techniques of locating, say again, I repeat,
no,
there
it will
is a
not
term
take
called
type
as
only. That's
ethical
why
hacking.
no.
So there is a term called as ethical hacking. You have all seen this, right? If China is doing a lot of hacking inside many systems, we have already seen some international reports in that. I'm not quoting only our agencies. There are international reports that they do it, right? So they have a Russia is doing it to a large extent. And there are so many countries who are doing it. Cyber this ethical hacking, right? Now what they do is they try and attack the servers they themselves have created, right? And then they find out what is the problem. Now there are so many countries which are not doing it in ethical form, they are doing it in unethical form, where they attack the servers of different countries, they attack the servers of different banks located in different countries, so that they can extort money from them, right? So this is another business going on. There are so many things, but again, how could you develop? There are numerous ways. You need to study them in detail. You need to talk about with experts in real field who face the problem daily. Take a problem from them and find out a digital solution to that. Right. This is how I believe you can develop, or you can play a part in developing cyber forensics or digital forensics as sciences in India. Anything else? Anything else? I hope I've answered that. If yes, you can acknowledge that also. I hope I need not type the things, ma'am.
Dear all, if you have any queries, you can write it down in the chat box or in the question answer session.
Right, right, right. So I hope that all the participants actually understood what we have been talking about. And can I stop sharing the screen now, ma'am?
Ah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can stop sharing, sir.
Yeah, yeah. So if there are any questions, I'm most welcome. I'm looking at the question answer window. If there are any, you can ask them. And if there are none, I'm done with the lecture, ma'am.
Sir. Uh, sir, it is there, I think so. One more question is there, sir, in the chat box.
Okay, I'll just see to it in the chat box. Okay.
Yes, sir. How can we measure?
How can we measure the frustration level of any human during code? Ah, yeah, very interesting, very interesting. You can see his face and measure the frustration level. I think so. Nevertheless, this was to a lighter side. Now, what you can do is, if you want to measure something, see, again, I repeat, this is another field. I gave you this term, right? This is another unit which actually is measuring things or analyzing things, and narco test is one of that. The person is almost unconscious in that, and then he replies what he shouldn't have done while he was in his full conscious, right? So there are so many things, but still they are in their preliminary stages, and people of different agencies are being trained to actually uh, say, you've seen in movies also, they will uh, uh, behave in such a fashion, even going into that particular situation, they will be able to answer what they would have done earlier, right? So they are being trained to actually bypass these tests. So how you can evolve the technology? This is how you can do it. You can write an algorithm and ask few questions to a particular person. If he's answering is matching to a certain criteria or context, right? You can develop that particular algorithm on your own, and then see what is the behavior of that particular individual in situation like COVID right now, or in situation when COVID was not there, or in a situation while he was sick, right? Or he was hospitalized, or he was into a different condition, right? So matching has to be, it has to be an extensive data matching. Data scientist, that is why he's very important these days, right? So I hope you can develop that on your own. Again, it has to be analysis of the data of that particular individual, not the entire human race, right? You cannot do it for entire human structure. You have written any human, so I'm talking about any individual here, right? And data sets have to be developed. So neural networks play a huge role in that. Again, neural science is taking its importance into the digital forensic science. Yes, right. So that is what you can develop it, but there is nothing as such right now. Yes, normally if I tell a joke and the person is not laughing, I understand that he is passing through a COVID-19 syndrome, right? This is what I've known. And if I'm trying to say something fruitful for him or her, and he's not responding, he's not at all worried what has happened. So he is definitely gone into a particular shell these days. That may be assumed, right? But still, you have to produce some digital evidence. So if the digital evidence is not there, you will not be able to prove it what he's in which situation he is, right? I hope that I was able to answer something. Right, right. Thanks, Shanawaji. Thanks for asking and providing the information. Is there any tool available to measure the same? Right, there are so many. I have again repeated, there are tools available, but still, because this is a very immature field, uh, there are tools to be developed. Right, rather than being developed, there are tools to be developed, and that is what I wanted to introduce to all of you, that you can develop these tools on your own, so that you are able to work in this field, right? Right, I'll share my mail ID and contact number again. Uh, Rather than that, what I'll do is I'll just show it on. I'll type it here also, and I'll show it onto the screen also. So I'll just present my screen again so that you are able to see it. Right, I hope you are able to see. You can even switch on your mic. I don't know. You can talk to me direct right now because I'm not doing anything. Right, so you can note down my mail IDs and my contact number. This screen is in front of you, and I'll share the presentation also with the with sir, so that this presentation remains there with you people, and you are able to actually see it again. Yes, 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 yes. I'll definitely share it. No problem. Right. In that case, I think that's it from my side, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable information. And really, it's our honor that we hear from you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Sumita ma'am, and I'm grateful to you for having introduced me to the participants and having invited me. A big thanks to GITM Institute, right,
Thank you, sir.
for having
Once
me
again,
over,
thank you, sir. Uh, dear
and sir
participants,
for letting me
sir.
be a meeting again. Yeah, please.
Yes, sir. Again, 2 o'clock, 2:30. Again, your session is there, sir.
Yes,
Two
yes, yes,
thirty.
yes. Right, right, right.
For that, I'll
I'll be there.
remind you, sir.
Yeah, sure, I'll be there. No problem, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very
Thank
much
you,
for having
sir.
me.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Uh, participants, again, the next session will start at 12 o'clock. So we'll meet again at 12 o'clock. About the attendance form, I think already we are getting the responses. So those who are not getting, just a minute, be in the meeting. Feedback link, it was in the editable mode, so someone changed. We will post in the WhatsApp group. So we can end this meeting here and we'll post the feedback link in the WhatsApp group.